What's really going on, everyone? Back again with another episode. This is season four, episode four of the What's Really Going On podcast. As always, I am Noah Lyons, joined by Mackenzie Marshall and Henry Woods. Before we get into everything, this is going to be a special 2023 wrap up edition. But before we get into that, be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. That includes TikTok, Instagram, or no, X or Twitter, however you want to call it. Henry's already like, damn, you're messing this up at WRGO Pod. Be sure to like, listen, subscribe on all of our streaming platforms. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartMusic, and now Amazon. Mackenzie and Henry, how are you all?
Doing well. How are you? How are you guys?
I am I am doing good. I am waiting. I feel like this time is weird because we all try to do stuff professionally. I feel like this is the time where everyone tries to like apparently when the clock strikes 2024, we have to have everything done by then. So like people are like, we have to finish this by the end of the year. And I'm like, no, we don't.
We literally have next week. Then
Yeah,
the
We have
following.
all next
like
we have all
this,
Yeah.
next year.
I feel like this is the time of year where everybody is kind of lazy and like not wanting to do
Not
none of
over here. They've been working your girl.
Yeah, same. People are like, we got to get this done by before
Yeah.
2024. And I'm like, this can be a January 8th thing.
Yeah. To January 8th, exactly.
Like we could do this in February. You're just pressed because, for some reason 2024 turning is like crisis for you. But I digress. So we are going to now talk about, I think, everything that we have talked about this past year in our end of season three, beginning of season four. So I guess we're just going to get into it. We kind of have a very loose structure, and I think we're just going to talk about the big things of this year. One thing that's not on the podcast doc that we have, but I'll get you all to think about. We usually do this every last episode of the year is what your New Year's resolutions will be. I feel like it's a little early for that, but put everyone on the spot
like
here.
that's usually at the like later tail of December. We probably are gonna get another episode. The news cycle is just slow. You know,
Mackenzie and I
I
have an
feel
editor's
like,
tip. We said this is it.
yeah. Because what, next week is the week before Christmas, then it's Christmas, then the week after that is New Year's.
And Mackenzie will have that out of office text message pre-drafted for us.
look, I'm
Bye.
trying to get the people content.
Follow us on social media for that. So I guess we'll just begin here. Henry put, "How are we already here?" I don't know how we're already here, but I think the first thing, who actually did the doc? We're talking in real time as if we're not recording, but
Right, like so Henry gets the job, of course.
so
No,
Henry, I'll let you start us off with the first topic in the doc.
Trump's mugshot, that was a big thing, big deal.
It
It
was the
was, and I think,
fall of the
yeah,
whole like chain of command on his camp. Like I thought that was, I put that in there because I just felt like reflecting on one of our first, not first few episodes, but our older episodes when we talked about the election, and then we were recording during the election, we were recording during the impeachment. I feel like on record said that we didn't even think that, he was going to even get arrested or go this far. So to see his mugshot, I thought it was kind of a full circle moment. But it is interesting to see that like he's still doing well in the polls. So that's
I
interesting.
think that's what's interesting to me about the mugshot, the fact that like, well, next year, the election year, we're gonna see this man running for a presidential campaign. So like you talk about somebody who had a terrible year and then the top of their next year is looking bright and whatever. Like BFFR.
I would pose a question to you all. Do you think, because I think, funny enough, I think the thing that actually hurts Biden the most is actually if Trump actually faces more legal trouble, because then he can like have the argument of, oh, look at all these people who are against me, and I think that'll make people like irrationally go toward him. Um, we were famously, I think all of us were wrong in terms of not thinking that anything would even happen like this. Do you think that he will actually get indicted? I have kind of talked myself into, I think in Georgia he will, which I think then brings up more like legal questions in terms of like, can someone who's indicted also run?
You
Um,
literally just took it out. That's what I was about to say. Like when you were saying all of that in my head, I'm like, bro, like literally think about that. Fred, somebody that is going
a,
through a
convic-
legal
a
situation,
convicted felon,
right,
convicted felon.
is running for president. That doesn't even sound like,
It shouldn't be real life. It's
yeah,
crazy.
like are we in a simulation or something?
Yes. Yes. We are in an
We are.
assimilation.
We are.
That, that's crazy to me.
And the funny thing is, I feel like when we're doing this episode next year, one will be reacting to the election, but I feel like we won't be able to talk about the election without talking about like what happened to him legally. Because I feel like those two things are going to be like one is going to lead to the other, whether for better or for worse. But I feel like this story is like not going away. Like what happens if someone actually has to put the cuffs on him? And like, I don't know.
But
That would be
again,
so crazy to see.
imagine this man running for president, and he's
From the courthouse.
literally that. And I guess what is also like, I guess pivoting like sub conversation of this is like the fact that Biden, like we posted to our Instagram a couple weeks ago, like Biden admitted the only reason he's running is because of Trump. So to
I feel
me,
like he said that before. I feel like
And
all
I'm
Democrats
not
were
mad
saying,
at it.
I have to run because he's running, you know?
but what other Democrat has the manpower to be
And
here?
the funny thing is, that's what I would say if I was Biden. I would just say I'm running because no one else. I'm the only one who can beat him. That's what I would say. It's like you turn your weakness into a strength. I'm the only person that beat him. Hillary couldn't do it. No other Democrat wanted to step up. I'm here now, so like, what y'all gonna do? I think he kind of needs to be a little bit stronger. And like, the funny thing is, I think even when you kind of get down to it, I think, and we've talked about this, like to me, his age is not a concern. It's like just like the actual stuff that he's not doing. It has nothing to do with like how old he is. Like Trump's 2 years younger. So like what does that mean? I don't think no, to me, his age wouldn't be a conversation if he got student loans
Well,
still.
no,
And
no,
we all
you're
know that.
right on the age
Yeah, like
thing. You're right on the age thing. However, if again we're paying attention to what's going on and we see how Biden is trying to amp up for this election year, he's been student loan heavy. Like we just posted something to the IG account to where like they're doing where you can get a refund on your payments if you paid through a certain time period. Like he's been trying, and I think what because our last episode we were like, if we were Biden advisors, blah, blah, right? Go watch the episode now.
So are you saying that Biden listened to our last episode and he took our advice? Is that what you're saying?
the brand is
Hey,
strong.
let's add the people in question though. But all I'm saying is he has been heavy. He has been heavily actively working to attempt to massage the idea of student debt relief. So I can apply.
Even though, and this is like usually I'm the one who's like kind of like trying to help Biden out. I'm actually gonna throw a wrench into that. Do you know anyone who has gotten any of his loan forgiveness? It's a lot of money. It's like $8 billion total. It's a shit ton of money. I don't know anyone who's gotten anything off theirs.
So
And I
that
think
becomes the question
that's a
of
problem.
allocation and all of that stuff, which I'm here with you because funny enough, somebody did comment on our last Instagram post and said they got an email and said they would deny that they qualify, something like that. So like it becomes a question of how is this being allocated. However, on the like bigger scheme or perspective of things, I think it's good to look at the fact that he's attempting to do something. He's not just doing because one, he did put out some type of legislation toward the fact of trying to forgive student debt earlier on. However, the courts blocked it. So it's not like he didn't uphold his promise. He tried, it got blocked by the courts, and now, he's now trying to do whatever he can to save his main theory or ideal of running on it. And I'm not a Biden apologist at all. However, I have been like, as we're preparing to, do certain things with our branding and marketing, I've just been thinking like of the severity of this next election, and it makes me consider like the realism we're sitting in when we get into these later topics of inflation and like homelessness and pay wages and all of those real things where we're facing almost a maybe like depression, that type of period where like things are getting are going to get very bad. I would prefer to have a Democrat as a president, so You know, yeah.
For our audio listeners, Mackenzie is sitting there with a face that is very relaxed, but also says, "Where's my money at, Joe?" That's what it's giving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, I feel like for every single election that I can remember, like even as a kid, it's always been this is a serious election. This is this is a historical election. And then it's the same old thing. They run on these promises, then they don't get the promises because it's being blocked. Then they try to maneuver and make it work somehow. And I'm just kind of like over it. And I'm also not really confident enough that I mean, yes, Biden beat Trump before, but I don't know. I'm just not confident that he can beat him again, even with everything happening. Like I guess anything is possible, but I'm not 100% 10 toes down that Biden is definitely able to win. And the only thing that I think that could really set maybe a Republican apart is if they really do go on an education thing of like doing student loans. I think navigating the student loan conversation for Republicans, if Trump came in and said the same things and was able to maybe make better promises, I think he could easily get that swing vote, whether he provides on those promises or not. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure that will be our leading topic for all of 2024. The next thing that we have, which is actually a little bit relevant today, again, given news came out about this a little bit today, which is I think more annoying. That has to do with the whole entire Tory Lanez, Megan the Stallion situation. There was kind of some leaked news that I think was totally garbage that came out from like, oh, Tory Lane's bodyguard had said this. And it's like, yeah, someone on the payroll would try to cap for Tory Lane. But I also think in terms of, I think when we're talking about like the wrap up, I actually think this was actually like a really interesting moment, I think culturally, where it seemed like I think so many people were kind of either split or I think it has to do, and I'll rely on Mackenzie for this. I think this has to do with so much information about like how we get news, where we get news, misinformation, misogyny, all of these other type of issues. I think kind of are wrapped up in this one issue. But I don't think we've had that conversation in terms of like how that plays out or how that did play out and how a lot of it looking back is actually really effed up for Megan Thee Stallion, I think.
No, it
Um,
really is. And I agree about, I don't know if that situation is true. I saw it on like Twitter and it was about, I guess his bodyguard had
I
said
think it's
her
ridiculous. Yeah.
ex-friend Chelsea was holding the gun. I don't even know why the case is still a discussion because he's already in jail or whatever. But
Yeah, we'll just in I would insert myself here just to kind of give context to what we're discussing or the topic, the current topic. His bodyguard wrote like a letter, and it insinuated that Kelsey, the friend, maybe was the person that shot Matt.
Which would make sense given that that person is on the person who's in jail's payroll or was. That would make sense. Or that's how I read that. But that's just me. But Mackenzie, please can continue.
I mean, I was just gonna say, so there's that, and then recently, I don't know who dropped a song first. Megan dropped a song. I guess it was her
Mm.
first single after the whole situation, and she was talking about her ex-boyfriend who she caught cheating on her. And then Party came, her ex-boyfriend came and dissed her again. And I just feel like today, or whenever you hear this episode, recently Megan was on live or Instagram
Mm.
live, kind of like defending herself. And I just feel I don't want to judge how people like defend themselves,
Process.
but I just
Yeah.
hate how that she feels that she has to do that. You know, like I hate that she feels that she needs to clear her name still and like bring clarity to the situation. I know it's kind of separate. It's not about Tori, but it's still connected with Tori because he tried to say that she lied about it and stuff. And I just feel like, I want Megan to have a great year next year and I want her to leave this all in the past. But the thing that was really just again disappointing is just to see how many men are still
Mm.
defending Tory and still kind of defending Party and even saying that. What you about to say, Henry?
Why did I get
I
thrown?
saw your face.
Because like to Noah's point, well, one, he did try to like I hate when I lose words. You know, admit like a fella
Admit.
uh like get it reversed, get the decision.
Who, Tory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He appeal. That's the word I was looking for. I don't know why I'm so lucid. But point in case, he filed an appeal or wherever, and it got denied per my knowledge. So it becomes like both of you all are saying, or to Noah's point directly, where like has actually been like, I think, a defining topic of the year to some degree, because like literally earlier today I was kind of checking up with one of my littles, Neos from Howard or whatever, and somehow we started talking about this and we were in opposing odds on it, and I'm not going to firmly state my stance or his, but I feel like it has caused a lot of like defining character moments for society in terms of like how people view stuff. I was about to say something else, but
What do you mean?
like one, this man like assaulted a female. So like the fact that, okay, we can't give into the truth of, okay, that's just what happened. For me, that's kind of problematic with like moral character and standing. Like
Wait, what exactly is problematic?
if you can't believe that this man actually pulled a gun out, shot a female, it's like, why are you thinking Meg is lying? You get what I'm saying? Now there was a lot of speculation and all of this extra drama around the issue for no reason. And I think, again, it just causes a lot more confusion. But for me, it's just black and white. Like, from what I seen, what I read, what I heard, whatever, I've come to the decision of like, okay, whatever happened, happened. He was maybe fought for it and he's now in jail. Like, that's my opinion on it. I don't care to defend him. I'm not like free Tory or nothing like that. So it becomes conflicting for me of why has this become such, you know what I'm saying? Why is it such a big deal when like these real issues happen on an everyday, day-to-day basis?
That was the exact point that I was going to make, is that I think that and Mackenzie, I think, is the only woman on this podcast to be able to like talk about this in more specificity than myself, but I think that there's a general lack of awareness that I think men have towards the actual real life daily abuses that women face in terms of sexual violence, domestic violence, physical violence. And I also think that includes like they're ignorant to both, I think, their friends, but also what has happened to the women in their own families in terms of directly having these conversations with them about like, hey, what is your actual life experience? And then you know that these things are actually a lot more common than they actually are discussed. And that most times when someone is sexually assaulted or domestically abused, nothing actually happens to the abuser. They just get to walk free. But more often than not, women know that, because I'm sure Mackenzie knows a lot more women who have suffered these issues and not actually spoken about them than you and I knew. And I think it goes to the fact that like men don't have these conversations or are forced to directly confront them, even with people who are in their own family, their mothers, their sisters, their grandmothers, their own daughters. Um, and I think in terms of like how we talk about that now, that has to do with like the Diddy stuff. People aren't able to like conceptualize that like this person could have done this, and that's everyday stuff for some women. It's not shocking because this stuff happens every day.
Mhm.
And I just don't think we're able to like, or not, we're not able, but like to what Mackenzie was talking about in the last episode of like women kind of deny that sometimes selectively, but men aren't able to understand that, and men are the ones who are like annoyingly driving the conversation behind this and their own ignorance and getting in their way. So I think that's why this is like a really interesting moment. It's of course another moment that should have been a teaching one, but we don't learn lessons from this type of shit, which is annoying. But Mackenzie, I don't know if you have anything to add. As the only woman I think who just has the more direct confrontation with this stuff than Mackenzie,
Yeah.
Henry, and I will ever know. But
Yeah, and I just hate like, so when it happened, or when it happens to women, it's always, and especially when it comes to men, I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or like just how boys are raised, but I always feel like the first response is like, oh, what did you do? Or like, what happened? And it's not really,
victim blaming.
yeah, it's victim blaming. And do I think it's intentional? I think it's just a society thing that we've all grown up in. And it's just like, oh, wait, like, how could this person do this to you? And not immediately being on the side of the victim. And when you ask those type of questions, whether you're consciously understanding that you're kind of taking a side, I do feel like with those type of questions, you are siding with the person who, the abuser, because it's insinuating like, what happened? What did you do? It's always on the victim and it's never on the abuser. Like with Diddy and Tory, the conversation was like, well, why didn't she speak up earlier? Y'all know she was with Megan. Y'all know she be drinking. Maybe it was all of these other excuses and then to also justify the behavior that's being displayed with Diddy. He's rich, he maybe was going to put her on and make a career. This is just what happens. And it's just like, why do we have to have these podcast conversations for 30 minutes to really get people in? I'm gonna say people, but it is men, but women do also play a part in it as well. Why do we have to have these conversations all the time? And I hope that there isn't another Megan, Tory, or a Diddy in X, Y, and Z situation where we have to have this conversation again. But I do think it is important for men to hold your friends accountable and have these conversations, because at the end of the day, it don't matter what we talk about on this podcast if you leave and go back with your homeboy and you hear something and you still playing the part of like victim blaming and siding with the abuser, even if it is your close friend, family member, or abuser. Like, you do at some point have to take a side and take a stand. And if you don't, what are we really doing as a people, as a community?
That's where I get like, is not just men, women, to your point, like when we say victim blaming, a lot of people who are in these unfortunate situations sometimes go back to, or how you're saying, take a stance. And I'm gonna rope in a topic that was kind of later down the pole here. Jonathan Majors is abuse, is in, same situation. So it becomes tricky when my childhood baddie is standing next to this man where she's made a moral stand.
Megan Good. You talking about Megan Good?
And she's making a decision to, be next to this man. So we can't just always fall men, because we can say she's enabling his behavior. And I don't know what recent evidence in detail that has come out about that.
You didn't see the TMZ video?
And yeah, which is why like I've even seen people who are already on the path of like defending Jonathan Majors already. And like to what Mackenzie was saying, what you both were saying, this is going to be another like touch point, because I think what we also do, there's also a racial conversation in this instance where I think because Jonathan Majors, the alleged person who was abused, is a white woman, I think now we're going to deal with like a racial conversation of, oh, this white woman is lying on this black man. And I think that's how we talk ourselves into really, really bad stuff. And
this the OJ of our time. Like, he didn't like, those become real questions.
What's the question?
Moments of our generation. Like,
what exactly is the question, though?
It's a lot, to Noah's point, it's a lot of questions at play here outside of this being physical assault, domestic violent issue between a man and a woman.
We let race cloud what like other stuff. We let that be in the foreground without actually like just questioning, like, did OJ kill this person? But then it becomes like a racial conversation that then sides from the fact of like, no, this person killed two people, but we're gonna like use this person as like the black token person. So to Henry's point, and I think we're headed for that. And I can already see it shifting in a way that I think it's like really, really uncomfortable for me, because I'm like, and Lord knows, Henry and I've had this conversation, but like, he's just not the one to fight for. Like, he's just not. And I think we as a culture have a problem with letting people go. We have a problem with letting people go. We have a problem with letting go.
I don't know what type of publicity stuff y'all got going on, but baby, if you hit us, you are Megan Good. Megan Good, that that Tiana Wax.
Yeah, that just makes it puts me in a tough situation.
You need to leave that alone. How you was going in on Carisha the last episode, I'm going in on her. Like, she's pissing me off. She is too much of a 10 to be with that lime.
Like, I ain't got nothing. It's lime.
I've never heard that before. That's so funny. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first saw her with him, I'm like, are we missing something as people? Like, or because I guess you know what, I'll call myself out. I don't know if this is victim blaming, but I did think like, is there something that we out on the outside don't know that she knows? Because she doesn't need a publicity stunt. She don't need a man. She was just married. Like, none of this makes sense. But then on the other side of it, just outside of abusiveness and stuff like that, I'm just like, why would you want to be a part of this nonsense? You know, like, why would you want the chaos? Why would you want to be going into court? Like, why would you want that for yourself, especially coming out of a divorce? Like, that makes no sense to me. But yeah.
We could ask the same question of Carisha, and you did last week, but here we are. So topics somehow find a way to connect to previous. That's why you should listen to all of our episodes, because it all connects. All right, now before we kind of got the heavy stuff out the way first. Now we're going to kind of get into like some lighter topics. We just have the submarine disappearing. I'll let someone else talk about this because I had a brain fart when we were talking about this. Somebody else cook.
What was this at the beginning of the year? I feel like it was still cold outside, so maybe beginning
like
of the year,
early,
or yeah,
early.
maybe spring. But this is when y'all remember when there was this submarine that went down in the ocean. It was a bunch of rich people and they couldn't find it. It was missing, and then long story short, it was imploded. And the jokes, even though at first, honestly, the jokes on Twitter were crazy, but I'm not gonna lie, I was actually kind of like not sad. I didn't know those people, but I was kind of like, damn, that's y'all laughing at that. That's crazy. Going down and you never come back up. But also, I don't know if they were all white, but I'm gonna assume that they're all white. Why are you going down to the bottom of the ocean?
But,
Oh, they were looking for Titanic stuff, weren't they?
mm-hmm.
They were looking for stuff from Titanic. Why? That whole situation made no sense to me.
When we have like sources and we're credible, you know, journalistic media and podcasts. So per the New York Times, Mackenzie's favorite organization, the catastrophic explosion, it was like 5 lost people. They went down like 1,600 feet. Basically this business has been going that like putting submarines and all that down in the ocean for a few years. This just so happened to be a bad trip, supposedly. And that it exploded. They went down too far, and then, you know, they sent actual like military combat down.
The Coast Guard was in there
to go look for these people. But they was never found. It happened in the summertime, so like June. It was definitely a big topic on Twitter, and everybody was talking about it. But I think it's just crazy to me that this is a big topic, because this is a big topic, the aliens that were found. It's also like
I didn't think that was that big of a topic.
What?
But my whole thing with the aliens, I was just like, y'all really thought that humans were the only people in
one.
this entire universe? There's this many X, Y, and Z planets, stars. We the only ones here. That's impossible.
We're that special.
I think it's crazy that they brought that thing here and it's been here on Earth for years or however long. That's the crazy part. Leave that thing out where y'all found it. But yeah, nah, you really, Henry, you really didn't think there was no alien.
I like considered, you know, other beings being able to exist for sure. I just didn't like I feel like they already knew this stuff and we just didn't know.
Oh no,
oh, absolutely.
I feel like they kept it. It's been here for like years, I feel like. Right? Yeah. Who knows what else these people know?
The craziest thing I'll say about the submarine is that the thing that I forgot, apparently they went down there with like a not a Game Boy controller, I'm being funny, but like they went down there with like a game console controller to like steer it. And I think that's an example of when you're so rich that like the things that would be a concern to us, I don't even like to go swimming in a pool that's like more than 15 feet deep. That's past my comfort zone. So for you to go 16, whatever, what was the number you said, Henry? They went 1,600 meters.
Feet. That's why I said it has to be some white people, because like who else is doing it?
We ain't got the time we done been through too much to do all that. And Can you imagine telling
But
your
I
daughter?
got real world problems. I ain't trying to get my money.
Going down 1,600 feet. I'm trying to survive on this view. Like,
I'm trying to
no.
survive at sea level. At sea level, I
Yeah.
can't make it. Um, the next one that we have, and Mackenzie, I'll just let you take center stage here, and I'll ask my follow-up question. Beyonce World Tour. Mackenzie, the floor is yours.
Okay, so at the top of the year, Beyonce made history as the most decorated Grammy Award-winning artist. Artist or female artist? I'm not sure on that. Artist. Period.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say about that, I don't know what the Academy, or I guess it's not the Academy, but the Grammys are doing with withholding her album of the year. But I think that she, just as a Virgo, I feel like my Virgo sister is not going to stop until she gets album of the year, because I feel like that's just the biggest award you can receive. So I'll say that. And then the world tour, amazing. This has been her best tour to date, and I've been to a lot of Beyonce tours. In fact, my first concert was Destiny's Child when I was like in the second grade. So I've been following this girl for a minute. And I haven't seen her movie because I'm not gonna lie, everybody said it was good, but I'm obsessed with Beyonce, so I feel like I already know what I'm gonna get. I'll just wait for it to come on streaming. But I'm really happy with this world tour, and I'm hoping Usher announces a world tour after the Super Bowl, because I think that will be another great tour. Because I don't know, like, I don't like to compare artists, but I went to Beyonce, I went to Drake this summer, and I went somewhere else, and people aren't performers. Some people can be artists and great singers, rappers, whatever, but everyone is not a performer. And I appreciate people like Beyonce and Usher who are going out every single day, putting on a show, entertaining us, and making it worth our money. So
yeah, it's beyond the music. Yeah,
I agree with you on a few of those points. And when you're saying that about like just artistry performance, Offset came to mind for some reason, because I recently listened to like an interview or like something he was saying where he's putting more into his artistry and rap and all that, because of the fact that like the art of music is becoming a little bit lost, and people like Prince and Beyonce and the greats have created a legacy because they are giving real performance, real music, real, like that's why Andre 3000 dropped the Flute album. He said the loss of the love of the art is becoming lost. So yeah, but when you were saying all that stuff about Beyonce not getting nominated and all that, it made me think, and I kind of noted it on the doc. She wasn't nominated for Person of the Year, allegedly, apparently, per my sources, Times Person of the Year. And it becomes conflicting because when you Google certain information on it, and the source I have been directly, and I'm going to speak from, is Billboard, but it says Taylor Swift's tour gross higher than hers. And then you have like other reporters say that she didn't, like Taylor Swift tour didn't even report to certain, like, let's say, scholastic scholar people who are credible in this dang on field, like Billboard. They didn't tell Billboard how much money they made, but Beyonce made 580 million, which is great, groundbreaking. And they would say like that's a 9-figure earning compared to other tours who run that same or shorter amount of periods. And for her to be a Black woman making that amount of money in this, I think, inflated economy is a big deal to speak toward. And I'm not no big
1000%. And
I'm
what
not a beehive or nothing.
Well, I am. And what I will say about the Taylor Swift thing, it's been kind of annoying to watch the media, and even where I work, because it's like I feel like publication I've read of a review about Beyonce, you can't talk about Beyonce without talking about Taylor Swift. And I don't think that that's right. Why can't the Black girl just be the Black girl that's breaking records she's in her own lane? They are not the same. The only thing that's similar is that they were both on world tours and they both released a movie, which at this point in this day and age isn't really that.
But no, if you want to be honest, as a person who, well, not if you want to, in my opinion, as a person who works in marketing, observing Taylor Swift's Aries, what eras,
eras.
she literally stole Beyonce's concept
Yes.
from every single angle and then tried to revamp it and sell it to another audience, if I'm being honest. Because prior to, not like just genuinely, again, from a marketing standpoint, what other artist is dropping movies at a theater to watch behind the scenes tour happenings? Beyonce had already did this with Homecoming. And I'm speaking solely from a marketing perspective because Beyonce's whole thing since the digital drop has been reinventing and re-innovating how artists drop music. She's taking it to each level. And that's and again, I'm not in the beehive, but I can argue.
But facts is facts, and it's not fair because it just kind of like removing Beyonce out of it, and I'm sure all of us can relate to it. It's like, damn, the black kids can't get this
hard. Twice as hard. Twice as hard.
Twice as hard for half as much. Twice as hard for half as much. Because it's just like, you win an award at work and then, oh, Bob did great too. Or like, you get a promotion and then Bob is up there. It's like, why can't I just be an individual?
Niggas can't shine on their own.
Yeah, why can't
Y'all watch Black Hate? Y'all watch Black Hate? Y'all see what
yeah, exactly. And that's why that's a whole nother conversation. Y'all need to watch Black Hate. I've been told y'all. But yeah, so like, it's been really annoying because I can't like literally Google any article about Beyonce in a reputable publication. It's always mentioning Taylor. And it's just like, and I don't want to say Taylor stole from Beyonce. I think Taylor looks up to Beyonce, and I do think it's a valid friendship, but to keep comparing them and mentioning them as if they are so similar it's ridiculous.
I'll just say this as like, I think the music person of the three of us, I think Taylor, I would not be shocked if Taylor somehow had more growth than her. Like that would not shock me. Just I think because that has to then do with how much you're selling, where you're playing, how many dates you're playing. But then I think it gets to like the actual like cultural impact. And that is something that they largely white media cannot understand, is that like Beyonce's impact on the culture dictates our culture, which dictates every other culture and cultures that are not Black. Taylor Swift is not making a punctual impact on Black culture in the way Beyonce's cultural impact changes the entire country landscape. There's no comparing the two, in that, like, I wouldn't say that I'm a Beyonce fan, but I am culturally aware of everything that she's doing because she has that type of gravitational pull where with Taylor Swift, that's not penetrating my ecosystem because it's just not. And that's something that I think largely white folk, white writers, white reviewers, cultural music will never understand. It's like a matter of like, do you have it? And what is it? And Beyonce has it. And that's something that Taylor Swift will never have. And that's something that white writers will never understand. Like Beyonce is the culture. Taylor Swift just makes music. And there's a difference even between Taylor Swift, who probably is the music powerhouse for white people. There's an ocean between the two in terms of like what they're doing, the impact that they're having. And like, there's no comparison. I can't even stress that. There's like no comparison to what like Beyonce is doing compared to what Taylor Swift is doing. Beyonce's not just making music.
As we've said, Beyonce is air quote it. When we consider where we're comparing her to as Black music lovers and culture consumers, let's say a Prince, a Whitney Houston, these people who,
Michael Jackson.
The gown, Aretha. Compare her to these
Aretha Franklin.
They were
easily
right. No. When we compare her to these figures, though, they were actively involved in world issues, civic engagement, real issues. And when we talk about current times now, there's a world war going on in which Beyonce has not spoken on, mentioned, none of that.
All right, I will.
The people that say no, I ain't cut you off now. The people are saying, if you're a great, because these greats actively said things and spoke out about these issues, but Beyonce hasn't. And then on top of that, allegedly now her movie was released in certain places that may gain support from certain parties involved in this predicament in World War that don't benefit the right side. So I just want to throw that out.
I will say this because I actually think that the thing that I think that annoys me about I think how we have cultural criticism, especially in terms of like Beyonce, where I think there is naturally, I think because there have been a lot of unnecessary criticism of her, I think when there is not valid criticism, but I think like an actual conversation to be had, I think people members like card carrying members of the Beehive, I don't think Mackenzie's one of them, will just like shun it off as ridiculous when I think there's an actual question that I think actually has to get to like who Beyonce is as a person. And I think as someone who loves music, I think the thing that I take away from it is that like we don't actually know who Beyonce is. We never have. And I think it's wrong for us to, I think, one, ask someone who is super, super rich to all of a sudden understand the plight of you and I living check to check. Like, no, Beyonce's not going to understand that. But I do think that there is an interesting conversation in that, like, we don't actually know who Beyonce is. She doesn't talk, she doesn't do interviews, and I understand why she does not. However, I then think that she lets her art do talking for her when I think her art is very intentional. And I think we often assume meaning from it that I don't think she actually has any like hard grounding behind. Like Renaissance, and Mackenzie can tell us better than me, is like an album from when I listened to it, it's clearly birthed in kind of a very much so like a very forward-facing queer revolutionary type of album in terms of celebrating these forms of music that have been, you know, historically marginalized within queer communities. I don't know if that's actually what Beyonce thinks. I can see that in the music, but I think, which is why I think overall, like, it's annoying that Drake doesn't do interviews. It's annoying that all of our media is fractured because we actually don't know what these people think. And I think with Beyonce, I don't really take any meaning from anything because she doesn't talk about it. And she's very selective in the moments that she is. Um, so while I think it's a valid criticism for us to say, like, you're not saying anything on this, she doesn't say anything about anything. Why would she change now? I think that's also a way for, I think, given how the media has treated Black women in music, which is historically very much so unfair, I can see why she's very protective. But then I think we take her protectiveness and then try to make something of it that I don't think it necessarily is, or that we don't have enough foundation to say it is. I don't know if Beyonce is, you know, a queer revolutionary icon because she doesn't talk about it. So I don't know if she has a standing to even talk about that.
I mean, are we asking the same from Drake? He's half Jewish.
No, I would agree, but and right, and I think the same thing.
Drake,
How,
Beyonce
like,
though, and that goes
That's not fair. That's not fair.
yes, but
I
that
think
goes.
I think it is. I think it is. I think it is.
I brought up is we love to. Noah says she's it, and she's one of the great, right? So when we talk about that, and we talk about the Michael Jacksons, the Aretha Franklins, all of those, the greats who have went down in history, whose music will be sampled and they will be mentioned for generations to come.
I mean, I feel like for her
on the line, those people had an opinion on real world issues such as.
I feel like for her, Lemonade was the Black Lives Matter, the Black is King. Now, is she gonna be international?
I don't think so.
What I think that was Lemonade was definitely her response to Black Lives Matter.
But then I think there's the difference, and then I think here's where I think people take it. I'm not even criticizing you. I think other people take it too far, and then I think it's like
I think that's
the music. The music can only represent so much of it, and I can only take so much of your music at face value if I don't actually know why you're doing it. And Beyonce has never given an inkling to the why, the what I'm trying to do because she just doesn't talk. So it's like. It's kind of like I can only take but so much of what you're doing at face value because I think even me, I think as a person, I think I kind of view it skeptically where I'm like, you might just be doing this because you know this is what the culture wants. I don't necessarily think that, but I don't know. And you've never given me the opportunity to quell that, not concern, but quell that thought where like, I think Beyonce just might be a really good marketer and know where the culture wants to be. I don't know that.
Noah's saying it because everything I said to like my other point of just observing from a marketing standpoint, like I never like Noah is really making me think in real time here because I don't think I've ever sat down and listened to a Beyonce interview or heard her real opinions on things.
I mean, she doesn't
definitely doesn't share opinions.
However,
she doesn't do them.
Point though. Her music, especially since the digital drop and in this digital age, has been, outwardly marketed toward the culture and speaking up in a way of like defense or painting us in a like better, like not better than, but like just
it's signaling. It's signaling
right.
something.
Thank you. So like for me, I never like I'm just interpreting the music as her saying these things. She never said these things. So when Noah was saying that, I was like, damn, okay, like yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. So even I brought up the point of the Palestine stuff, like, and that makes me think, is she what for me as a person who has like Black figures on my wall that I look up to and like want to emulate to some degree? I would say these figures are there because they have done characteristic defining moments. We could say this is the topic of 2023 when we talk about Tory Lanez and Jonathan Majors and all this other stuff. Like, if Beyonce isn't willing to define her character for me, I don't think I'm going to consider her a great of my time.
However, no, you can't do that. What I will say this is that I think we also have to be consistent, because I think we are very selective, and I think holding Beyonce to a standard that we wouldn't hold anyone else to. Where I think it's a matter of like we're not
in this Drake stuff.
What do you say?
What did you say, Henry?
Basically just said that I couldn't compare
because I just feel like, I mean, I know the topic is Beyonce, but I brought up Drake. I'm bringing up all these other people who had put out music this year and been touring and outside who also haven't said anything. So why?
Right. Yeah. That was the point that I was trying to get at, is that I think there's a lack of consistency that we have, and that I think it is valuable for us to ask these questions, but it's valuable for us to ask these questions of everybody. The same way we should be asking this of Beyonce. Taylor Swift, you haven't said shit either. So like, what the fuck is up with you two?
Okay, person of the year, person of the
year. Yeah, exactly.
But it's like it's consistency, and I think like the Beyonce conversation is something totally different. Because like personally, and like this could be a conversation between Mackenzie and I offline. There are so many questions to me about Black is King that have just gone so unanswered, because that film on its face is honestly ridiculous. And someone needs to answer for that film.
I never saw that. You talking about Lion King? I actually never saw it.
No. Her Black is King joint.
Oh, the music video?
It's ridiculous beyond.
Yeah. But people were dragging it. It wasn't that terrible. People, y'all hated it.
Because that goes to Henry's point. If you're just putting this out with no context, I think you're crazy now.
And I feel like she was just having fun, trying to do something else. But now that I will agree with you on the point of like, this is a time where Afrobeats is becoming a major thing. Everyone's hopping on that. I do think that might have been like, let me just hop on a Afrobeats thing real quick and like put that out, because that's what the people want.
Well, there it is. We're gonna do some quick edits because we're running on like 44 minutes right now. That's my recording. Apparently Barbie is the highest grossing movie of 2023. I personally watched Oppenheimer, which I loved. I did not go see Barbie, but I don't know what
you still never saw Barbie. I haven't seen Oppenheimer. So
well, let's do a review. We'll do a special review and watch the other film.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Barbie. Now, people, I don't know if it got nominated or it was like some snubs or something that happened with it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it was good enough to be nominated for like Oscars or whatever, but I definitely thought it was good.
It was a moment.
It was a moment. And the thing that I really want to study and learn about from that movie is, if we're talking about marketing, everyone that marketing team, brilliant.
Or did they just,
brilliant?
No, I think they had a very sick, but it wasn't anything innovative or different. Let's be clear. They did.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It was simple.
Does it need to be?
They literally just had a huge budget and wide span.
I mean, yeah.
But it worked.
But it worked. That's what it worked.
Yeah, I guess like it doesn't need to be innovative if it works.
It was simple.
I guess people as a person, like it was almost annoying though. I guess that's where I'm saying, like,
I think here
the movie wasn't even that good.
It was cute.
It's not about that.
Cute. It was cute. It wasn't bad.
Did they get their return on investment? Obviously, hopefully.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
So, sure. It just
I would say this. Here's my question to you, as a marketer, and I'm not. Black people were dressing up as Ken and Barbie. Something worked.
People were going
We
up
don't.
dressing up.
People only did that the last time for Black Panther. Something worked. We can't deny that. I don't know what it was, but like we're not just showing up as
told you
outside of and like
that
black kids were doing that for Spider-Man. So like we only break the costumes out
could not
random.
go
Like
outside without seeing Barbie.
so something worked.
I don't agree with it
I'm
has to
not,
be innovative to be like
It was
good.
simple. You knew what to do.
Yeah. But I will say, also the CEO of Mattel or the Barbie company, they've been, I don't know if you guys knew this, but they're trying to make it like the superhero movies. They have a different Barbie movie for different.
No.
Honestly, I wouldn't be. I don't see it. I don't see it not working because there are. I mean, I grew up with Barbie, so there's so
Yeah.
many storylines within just the Barbies. Like you could come up with 10 stories that's already written for these Barbies or whatever. Now, will they all be successful? I don't know. But I do think that like when you mention innovative, I don't know, because the way that the pink, they could have been breeding the pink in us like last year before like the full-on marketing combustion like was unloaded and launched on us. They could have been feeding us little pink stuff or whatever. It now I am a cannabis smoker. It literally got into me so much that I got pink roll-up papers. And I know people who were getting pink papers too. Everything pink is not even my favorite color, but it just got into me so much that I wanted to get pink stuff. Like,
so that's what I mean when like marketing plays on psychology, right?
It does.
Right. So when you overkill, it subconsciously becomes in like thing you think about innately.
but I wouldn't say overkill.
I'm not saying that's essentially what they did. That's why I'm saying it wasn't innovative. It wasn't anything cool. It just they had a huge budget and they put the shit, excuse me, they put the stuff everywhere. You've seen it literally on donuts and baking powder, wherever. They had it every single place you went, in places it wasn't even supposed to be, so that they get this gross of income. Now, crazy enough, I would be curious to know how they obtained the budget. Why aren't other films giving the same, whatever?
I mean, but
That's why
they
I said
knew.
Mattel had literally gave them so much money because they envisioned this becoming more
They
than
knew
just
they knew they
one.
were going to get return on investment, so we can spend it because we know we're going to get it back. So like, cut
Yeah.
100 million, we'll get 200 on the back end. So
do a case study as a marketing professional as to like what made it work and gross and get that high return.
I would say consistency. They were consistent
I
and it
think
was
the
simple.
overkill.
Yeah,
But
it was always there, and the ask is not great. It's not you have to do this thing and you have to do like it's just wear pink and like do this. Barbie, we grew up with that since we were kids. It's like that also is the marketing part is like they're asking us to go back to a brand that we've been familiar with for 28 years. It's not that hard.
and that also maybe plays a great part into it, the timing
I
of
think it does.
because we're in this like age of defining culture, figuring out do we want to stay nostalgic or move futuristic. Barbie was such a defining cultural thing, especially for the female genre or species or whatever word you want to use.
Species.
Ooh, we're gonna edit that out.
Species.
Ooh, moving
I let you
on. We're
slide with the
done.
female
We're
at the
done.
beginning. I let you
Yeah,
slide
we're
with female
done.
at the beginning.
We're
Now you're saying
done.
species? Really?
Moving
I'm just
moving
saying,
on.
like for women, Barbie was a big deal, right? Which in
For
case
white women, I mean, it was a big deal for sure. But
cultural
white women
phenomenon,
definitely
if
took
you
it to
will,
another level.
right? Like those things play a part, especially when you think about marketing. So, like, if they would have dropped this in 2005, when that other Barbie doll movie,
Barbie doll movie.
not Barbie doll, Bratz or whatever movie.
That
Different
movie,
brand.
that movie was
Different
not
brand.
good. That movie
But it's
was
also a
not.
different brand.
Yeah, and that
Different
movie
brand
wasn't
too.
good at all.
To say you
Different
can
brand.
maybe argue that it has the same cultural significance, especially.
No,
No, and not at all. Not at all.
Bratz, that movie was not good.
No, I'm talking about the nostalgia of the movie and timing and all of that.
Not
Like,
even.
not
Not even close. Not even close.
And
nostalgia
I
of
would
the.
argue like
Not even close.
Bratz.
Okay, Noah. If they drop like a live action Hot Wheels movie now, and it had
They
like
already did Fast and Furious. That's literally that. I mean, I don't know. As soon as you said Hot Wheels, the only thing I can think of is Fast and
No,
Furious.
you're right. I was trying to think of a like for me. I loved Hot Wheels when I was young. I used to have a big old
I did
set.
too.
Right. Right. So I was
Oh.
trying to think of a very significant cultural item that could, you know what I'm saying?
Or did y'all watch I mean, definitely, I get what you're trying to say. I feel like
Avengers
the
though, because
boy,
arguably Avengers, right? Avengers is like
I was just
No,
about to say, yeah,
right,
Avengers or
that's like
superheroes or the
second.
Ninja Turtles thing, but it's not the same
it's
impact.
not the same. It's not the same. It's
Avengers
literally
was
not the
like
same.
Avengers is historically one of the top grossing films in the United States history, right? So like arguably again, timing, nostalgia, and being able to build up that, energy around the film, I think plays a lot into again why it works. Avengers is a great ass franchise, not only because
They need to give it up. I'm sorry.
but that's what I'm saying.
Let's
Now is
Dragon.
you know what I'm saying? They're not doing so great, but what worked in that time period where they were hitting gross numbers every single time they dropped, and people were going dressed up, and this was a cultural, thing. All of that adds, that becomes the marketing behind it. That was my point.
I love it. Comparing Bratz to Barbie. What a turn.
Hello.
We're gonna just go through this quickly. We have inflation. That's the main topic, and I'm going to ask you all this because I bet I'll say this after I ask you this question because this is my soapbox about the Biden campaign in 2024. Do you actually know what inflation means? Either of you?
The dollar is inflated, meaning it's
No. No.
So basically, there's a shortage between
No.
our.
No.
so let me just shut up.
My understanding is that inflation is basically the percent increase that of goods. So essentially, it's almost like the difference.
No, I was right then because that is caused because of, let's say, what we're going through now is short, like the factories and suppliers and people who are giving us the things to allow us to live our life, right? They had a shortage, and there was an influx in the amount of people ordering and shit after the COVID time period. Is that not how inflation happened?
You're close. You're close. Essentially, inflation has to do largely with just kind of like the difference between price here and what it was here. Where, and I'm only getting to this because I think the more people don't know what inflation is. Inflation just means my fucking gas is high. So I think that all goes to say that like Biden keeps telling people like inflation's going down, but when you go to the pump and your gas is high at the end of when you filling up your gas, you're going to be like Biden's talking about inflation is lower, but my shit's still high. I think he needs to stop talking about inflation because like who actually knows what that means? And I think that's like a thing that he needs to work on. But that's talk about marketing. Henry, you can figure that out. Biggest cultural event for me of all of this was the Alabama brawl. I spent maybe
Pause. I just fucked up your flow. I don't know why they didn't hire me though. Like I definitely applied for a communications position. I was on mute when you said that. My bad.
with Biden. You don't want that. It's okay. You don't want that. You don't want that. The Alabama brawl was, I think, my favorite moment of 2023. I watched that video from every angle, maybe 30 times. And if someone played it for me right now on YouTube, I'd watch the whole thing. That for us is our cultural revolution. And I'm telling my kids that was the Boston Tea Party. And I don't care.
I
don't care.
Fun,
don't care.
Fun note though, the white people, not the white people, excuse me. the yeah, the people they had pled guilty, and the man who chairmaster, he had to chairmaster, he got 500 hours of community service. And most
He
of
deserved that because he took it a
That
notch
was
too far.
wild.
He took it too far. The cops were letting him rock, and then he did that and messed, because that goes to show it's always that one person who got to take it too far.
Yeah.
Because they were letting them cook, and then they said, "Okay, now we got to arrest everybody."
Now we
So,
gotta step in.
now we got to step in. One thing we have, and I think we actually probably need to spend like some fuller time on this, the rise of artificial intelligence. There's a conversation about AI that I actually think is really, really fascinating in terms of like mainly how AI gets its information and how does AI know what's real and what's not, and how does AI know how to separate the real from the bullshit. Someone had given me this example at a conference I went to from work, and they were like, well, what if you asked AI or an artificial intelligence machine, how do you solve carbon emissions? And if AI had actionable intelligence, carbon emission, the AI machine would say, kill everyone, because humans are actually the biggest emitters of like CO2 and like carbon and stuff like that. So it's like, what happens when like it can't separate your
That's
answer from like the yeah. It's like, what happens when it's like people are actually causing the thing that you're asking me, and if you're asking me to come up with a solution about something, it has to do with this, which is actually like a bad thing. How does it know that that's bad if unless you're teaching it like, hey, killing someone's wrong, doing all this is wrong? What happens when they're like, as it gets smarter, it outsmarts us, and then how do we know that AI is bullshitting us or not if it's smarter than us?
I'm scared. That just made me scared. I always say thank you. Have a good like, can you please do this? I try to be nice because I do feel like it's weird. It's like not weird. Like I do.
You just say you try to be nice.
Look,
No, I'd be
hey,
so thank you for doing that. Oh, good answer. Because
hey,
no,
yo,
I do believe if it is really a machine, like
it's
what
smarter
we're
than us.
using now and what Noah
Smarter than us.
described, I feel like is not too far fetched. Like, how is this thing able to not outsmart us? Like, I don't know how that would not be possible based off of just technology.
That's inevitable, and that's the
Yeah.
with humans. We
Thank you. Can you please come up with this for me? Oh my
Yo,
God, that was so good.
so everyone, here's the immediate scenario that my brain went to because I'm a sick individual. In 15 years, when the Chat GPT army takes over and they're going to break into Mackenzie's apartment, she's going to show up her Chat GPT history and be like, yo, I've been good to y'all. And they're going to be like, we'll go next door. You're fine.
yeah, no.
There's this man in
No.
Atlanta. He
No,
is
they
just
don't give
so
a
extra. He need please run up in his apartment, take all of his stuff. I'll give you his address.
you think that machine cares? And I think that's like the
But that's the scary thing. Is a matter of it's like it's frame of reference is what we're telling it. But what if it sees a frame of reference because it's ingesting so much material that we can even conceptualize? What happens when its frame of scope becomes larger than what we're telling it? And what's triggering it from not jumping outside the box?
well,
So
that
far, it's been tight enough to
I
not
think
do
that
that.
problem with AI is we really can't control it.
No,
Like,
and it's becoming smarter every minute. It's like it's picking up on shit. And it hasn't ChatGPT is like a very light version of it, but like what happens when it's like
bro, Chat GBT is literally the light version. Have y'all not seen that companies have hired an AI CEO?
YouTube has it. Have y'all seen on YouTube? Like
mhm,
YouTube will
yeah,
have it in the
mhm,
headline. Like it'll just
mhm.
come up with the headline for you. It's not good, but it'll come up with something that's appropriate for the video.
So
Do
like
you see when you're texting and typing all like your new Apple update, they finish in your that's why I
Isn't it AI though? Because that I feel like that was in Gmail before. That was in Gmail before AI came.
but
that's
that's just a lesser
structure,
version
the
of it. The
coding
lesser
of
version of
AI.
it. Lesser
That's
version of it.
what
It's
makes
picking up on what you're saying and
right.
assuming that this is what you mean. Because like another scary, not a scary scenario, but like a scenario that can be very influential. Like I've played around with this. Like if you ask GPT about like, hey, what stocks should I buy? It's going to tell you look that shit up yourself. So it has a guardrail to say like, we're not going to influence the market because I'm sure ChatGPT knows the answer based on all of the public information that it's receiving in terms of hit stock history. It can probably easily digest and say, hey, these industries are probably the best, but it's not telling us that yet.
That's
And
no,
yeah,
it's probably telling somebody that. It ain't telling the general public that.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Because my question, because somebody's funding
Why
GBT,
wouldn't you want to make this machine do?
there's an industry behind that.
mhm,
Somebody's making
yeah,
money off this, and that's when it becomes a human error and problem because we as humans we're lazy. Convenience is a big thing. So Chat GBT makes it super easy. That's why like these jobs are honestly getting ridiculous with their hiring process because it becomes a question of like, well, are they actually doing the work? And like that's why they want us in the office more and all this other stuff. Like it's crazy.
Wait,
Why
what
are
do you mean about the hiring process?
it's
there?
automation. It's
Oh,
you know,
oh,
it's
that part.
yeah, it's like workplace efficiency and all these other kind of things. But ChatGPT plays a part in that. I think we should table the Harvard president thing. Let's have that be. That's a conversation for next time. Actor strike, we talked about that. Go see our podcast episode with Maisha Miller, still one of our favorite episode guests of the year. And I think that's it for us. This has been actually a very long podcast. Any New Year's goals or resolutions, or also favorite TV show and movie of the year? I know I just put you all really on the spot on that, but
I don't know if I saw this year, but I'll say 1001 with Tiana Taylor. I don't know why that just came to mind.
no, that came out this year. That
That
came out
was
this year.
such a great movie. That was such a great movie. It just popped in my head. And favorite show, I'll say again, Black Cake right now. It's one of the few shows that I'm like, I put my phone down and I actually watch. Make sure I'm tuned in. And then New Year's resolutions. I don't know. I want 2024. I feel like 2023 for me has been very consistent. Like everything's been kind of just mellow, same thing, consistent. So for 2024, I just want more abundance in
Love
career,
that.
life. Yeah.
Thrive era.
Yeah,
Love it.
thrive.
Thrive
Not
era.
surviving, but thriving.
Favorite movie, what was it, The Blackening, the horror comedy joint? That was I have not laughed that hard in a movie in a long, long
That was
time.
a good movie.
Favorite TV shows I've watched this year are probably The Bear, because my stepmom's a chef. And there's a show on Hulu. Originals are actually like really, 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 really quality. There's a show that was based in the Dominican Republic called Dia de los Muertos, which was really good. It's about this Dominican dictator, which I think a lot of people don't really know about, which is very interesting. My goal, I say this every year, to read more. I feel like I've gotten so busy with other things that I actually don't sit down and like read as much as I would like to. Henry, close us out.
Honestly, I was sitting here thinking the whole time. I don't know. I don't know what movies are that like really hit the spot for me. A movie that I like recently, that I guess I would just recommend. And it's crazy when we talk about Chat GPT and all that stuff. It's called Leave the World or something on
I've heard
Netflix.
about that. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I
That
want to watch.
movie is ballistic. Like it's
It was
good.
good.
I've
It's
heard it's crazy. I've heard it's crazy.
makes you think for real because
Oh,
like
I'm gonna watch it this weekend then.
yeah, it makes you think. So I appreciated that movie. Shows, same blanket. Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. TV is boring right now for real.
Oh, to me, TV is great. Actually, I think the opposite. I think there's a lot of good TV. There's not a lot of good movies, partly because of the writer's strike.
You're
But
you're
also,
not watching rap shit. You mentioned Black Cake.
yeah, I like rap. I like rap shit. It took me
But
a minute to get into it, but it's
I
good.
like
I
it.
watched that. I watched rap shit. It's cool. But I guess like I need something very interesting that
Oh,
makes
here's a movie that I have not seen, but I will recommend. There's a movie that just came out, Issa Rae is in it, Tracy Ellis Ross, Jeffrey Wright, who's a really underappreciated Black actor who doesn't get his proper flowers. It's a movie called American Fiction. It was originally a book that I read by Percival Everett. It's basically about a Black writer who basically kind of plays into the tropes and then becomes a really, really successful writer. through kind of amplifying like the worst parts of our culture, because that's what the white world largely wants to consume when it comes to. It's kind of like a very much so like a play on culture, a play on like writing and stuff like that. It seemed like a really really good film. Issa Rae is also in it. What do you say?
What platform?
I think it's just out in movie theaters. You know, we don't really do that much anymore.
Oh, something I've been wanting to watch, but just been trying to get my mind in the space to watch it. Like Tyler Perry's autobiography, or a little like story, I heard was pretty decently good. I just haven't had the time to.
Well, when Henry does have the time, he'll do a review on that on our social media platforms. That includes TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at WRGO Pod for all of us. That concludes our season 4, episode 4. This has been an amazing 2023. Thank you for all of us, on behalf of all of us, for listening, liking, and subscribing, especially for all of the folks who watch us on YouTube. Our growth on that platform has been super, super
Major love. All 16.7 thousand of y'all.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So thank you for that. And we look forward to growing with you all next year. So be sure to once again follow us on all of our social media platforms. That includes Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at WRGO Pod. Be sure to like, listen, subscribe, and comment on all of our streaming platforms. That includes YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeart Radio, and Amazon. Happy New Year and all of that jazz.